not sure. But we're starting to think about it. And so I think this graphic is really useful for a number of reasons. One is that it reminds us that the students are the center of what we do. They're the purpose that we come to work for every single day. So as we start to unpack this mission statement that we have, or this vision of excellence of what we have, I want to think about it in terms of how do we actualize it and how do we make it happen. So in our mission statement, we say that we're student-centered. So this graphic indicates that we are student-centered, that our students are at the center. The next is that we are a premier international baccalaureate school division. And that also means in our statement that we're inclusive. So one of the things that we've talked a lot about in your schools and with your school leaders is that IB truly is for everyone. That there has been a history, and it historically has been reserved for the gifted and talented. You heard the story today about Lou Olam, right? Lou Olam created the IB program and the diploma program here at the high school in response to needing more for our gifted and talented kids. And what I would say to you today is that we have taken his work, his seminal work, which was really important, to that next level. And we've said that we are going to create opportunities for our students where there's IB for everyone. So we've instituted a really high quality PYP program at our elementary schools. We have a really great MYP program at our middle and high school, and our diploma program now is continuing to grow. And I want to just stop there for a second because I want to talk about what is success for us in making sure that we're a premier inclusive IB program. And success for us in the IB program isn't necessarily the number of IB diploma candidates we have. It's not necessarily how well our students do on an IB exam. It's access and equity to our international baccalaureate programs. And all of our kids, pre-K through 10th grade, have access to our IB program. So now it's thinking about how do we make sure that in all of our classrooms we are looking at those approaches to teaching, the approaches to learning, and integrating that work in everything that we do so that we can truly push the limits of what it means to be an IB school division here in the City of Falls Church. As we continue to unpack, you've heard a number of times in our video series today, is really about developing a caring community and culture. And if you look at our vision statement, it says that we will be caring, our students will be caring and internationally minded. And I want to just say this to you. As I think about a caring student population and an internationally minded population of students, it's not lost on me that that comes from the work that you all do with them. So the work that we do as a school system to support and develop our caring community and climate for the students is really important. And we talk a lot about what we do for kids, but I also would submit to you that it goes deeper than that it goes into how do we support each other in our classrooms? How do we work as a team? How do we create interdependent relationships where we rely on each other and we support each other to help us develop this community of care and this culture and climate of care? And also, how do we engage with the community at large? How do we engage our families to support this caring community and culture? And how do we think about meeting the needs of all? And then lastly, we get into closing gaps. And I'll talk about those in a minute because there's an urgency around this work, right? We are a community of people that personalize environments for our kids, and every child's unique needs are met. Every child's unique needs are met. And I want to press that a little bit this year to say, if we're really meeting the needs of every student, then what does that look like in our schools? And how do we begin to get at this notion of equity for all of our students? And how do we get at this notion of ensuring that every student learns at a really high level? So when I think about these big ideas and wrap that in the work that we've done already with our placemat, what you'll see is that we're not losing this idea of operational effectiveness and efficiency, best practices for teaching and learning, and equity, but instead we're keeping students at the center. And we're getting really focused on IB for all. We're getting really focused on developing a caring community and culture. And we're getting really focused on closing achievement gaps. So those become the the three things that we look at. I used to work with somebody who would say to me, when we were principals together, he said, I feel like, Peter, there are so many scoreboards that I have to look at, I don't know what's important anymore. I don't know if this is important, I don't know if that's important, and I don't know if that's important. So I pay attention to everything, and when you pay attention to everything, nothing's important. So I'm going to submit to you today that what we're going to focus on and what we're going to speak to as essential in our school division going forward is doubling down on this idea of International Baccalaureate for everyone and teaching in ways and supporting students in ways that are consistent with IB, and that means custodians, it means food service, it means transportation, it means everyone in the system is going to work on the skills associated with IB. We're going to focus on being a caring community and culture and ensuring that we provide equity for all of our kids, and we are going to close gaps as we move forward. So over the summer, I asked you to do a little reading, and I hope that many of you took me up on that. And the two pieces that I have been influenced by significantly that goes to this piece around IB, caring community and culture and closing gaps, were Behold the Dreamers and Brown Girl Dreaming. And I want to take just a second to thank, not to thank, but to thank the team that has been working so hard to bring Mbulo Mbui, who is the author of Behold the Dreamers, to George Mason High School, and she will be here on September 14th, which is a Saturday at 9 o'clock. But she'll also be here all day, not just to do a piece here at the high school, but throughout the community. So I hope that you'll join us for a conversation with Mbulo Mbui on September 14th. But I've been incredibly influenced by these two authors as we work through some of the big ideas that we want to focus on. And how have I been influenced? There are some emergent themes that came out of these two pieces of work that really mean something to me. And the first is this notion of the American dream. I think it's what binds us. I think it's what brings us together and makes us who we are. Every student that walks through our doors in the City of Falls Church schools every single day comes to school with this idea of fulfilling the American dream. And in each of these books, that came out very clearly, that there was this chase for the American dream. And I want to just put it out there as we think about the students that we serve, is how do we support what binds us, what helps us come together as a community to support all of our kids and all of our families around this notion of the American dream. Because what we know from the reading that we've done, from the things that we've seen, is that in our systems, across all systems, not necessarily school systems, but sometimes school systems, governmental systems and the like, that there are structures in place that deal with race, that deal with class, that deal with gender, that oftentimes will create inequity. So we have systems of inequity that become inhibitors to this notion of the American dream. And so I want us to think about our own system this year and think about what are those systems that we have in place that potentially could be inhibiting what happens for our students that come in. Because ultimately what we can happen, and we saw it in the books that we read over the summer, was that there can be trauma. And trauma can come from the inhibition of being able to achieve the American dream or the structural inequalities that are present that don't allow us to maneuver and do the things that we need to do to achieve the goals that we have for ourselves and for our students and for our families. But the other theme that came out very clearly to me in this book was that there is resilience, right? That there is this resilience and strength in the students that we serve, in the families that we work with, and the like. And so I want us to think about how do we also support this notion of resilience and strength. But these were the four things that sort of popped for me. So as you come back to school and you think about the work that we do, but also coming together to think about talking about the books, because one of the things I don't want to lose is we asked you to read these books for a reason. So how do we now come back and utilize these pieces of literature that we can leverage now to help us grow as an organization and as an institution? So those were a few of the themes that came up. Come on. I know you can move. All right. So in Falls Church City Public Schools, one of the things we've said a lot is all means all. So does all really mean all? And how do we support all meaning all? And I want to get a little bit serious here, because I do want to dig in just a little bit, because as I've said before, one of the things that I look forward to doing with all of us is examining our practices that we have in our systems that promote and advance the notion of equity for all of our kids. To examine those systems that are in place that promote justice for all of our kids within the context of IB, within the context of a caring community and culture, and within the context of closing the achievement gaps. We have some urgency. We've celebrated now 2 or 3 times. You've heard about 90% of our kids scoring at or above expectation on the standards of learning on all the assessed areas. However, what we've learned, and you will too as we dig into the data, is that we are a million miles from where we want to be. There's a reality in the data that's uncomfortable, and we have to get uncomfortable with it, and we have to be self-effacing, and we have to think about it. And the uncomfort is we have students that are on the margin, that have been marginalized for one way or another, not necessarily by us, but I think that we need to examine what's happening, because we have students who are on the margin that are scoring between 25 and 30% pass rate on the standards of learning assessment. We have kids that are missing the mark. And so the urgency is, if all really means all, then we need to unpack that, and we need to figure out how do we provide equitable and just services for all of the students that we serve. Which means that we have to look at what we do, and we also have to consider doing things differently than we've always done it. So the definition of insanity, I think everybody here knows, is doing the same thing we've always done and expecting a different result. So I'm going to ask you to engage differently this year in your work to really get at some of those ways that we know are right through best practices, through research, and the like, to help us close these gaps. And we need to continue looking at and acting in ways that are just for all of our kids. One of the ways that we have started to do this work of doing things differently is we had, over the weekend, our first ever pop-up registration. And we held this pop-up registration in the community, and what we did, and we being, and I have a list of people that I want to thank here, so I don't want to miss anybody, but what these people did was they took registration to the people. They went to the community and said, you know what, we're going to do something different here. Instead of you coming to us, because structurally you might not be able to, because there are things in your life that would inhibit you from being able to do that, we're going to come to you. So I want to thank a few people: Julie Macrina, Rob Carey, Sia Knight, Jen Fessenden, Jen Santiago, Rebecca Sharp, Marie Baruti, Marty Goodell, Cecilia Guerra, Ashley Rasmussen, Gada Khalif, Kevin Clark, Kristen Michael, and Jen Santiago's husband, Oscar, for being at the park over at the fields to register our families on Saturday, for being at the community center to register our families that wouldn't have otherwise come in to register in a timely way. 46 kids were registered on Saturday and Sunday in the community, and almost exclusively they were English language learning kids. So that is a real success. Yes. So why did they do that? They did that because we need to do something different to support the families that have been on the margin. When we pull back what it looks like and pull that curtain back, and we see the structural inequalities that may exist that will inhibit our families, we know that we've got to clear some of that out, because it's the right time, it's the right place, and it's for the right reason. So some other things that we're talking about and thinking about as we continue this work is consultation with our experts. Many of you had an opportunity last year to work with Joseph Williams and his partner Tracy along with Julian Williams, who's done an equity audit here in the City of Falls Church schools. We're looking forward to getting information about what that equity audit shows,